Hey, what's up, my good people of the internet? This is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and you are amazing. We are trying to get Brendan Murphy on the show here. Been hanging out in the studio from the beginning here around 9 o'clock, and we wanted to get Brendan on video for you this morning. And unfortunately, we are experiencing some trouble here where sports meets life from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. We're looking to bring Brendan Murphy onto the broadcast. We'll see if we can do that in just a couple minutes here where sports meets life. But in the meantime, I want to let you know Cafe Kubal, which is what this cup is filled with this morning. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. You can see a little bit of that chai. But the Like a Boss mug is in celebration of my G-Mama. And I love the fact that we have the opportunity. There we go. Brendan Murphy's coming. Here we go. I love the fact that we have the opportunity to be live from the Cafe Kubal Studios, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, and 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse.
Holy
There's
smokes,
the dude. There he is.
Oh, man.
Ruh-roh, we got him. So also Cafe Kubal, I want to let you all know, on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners. And, of course, you can get Cafe Kubal by also going to 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. So thank you to everybody that's connected with Cafe Kubal, and thank you for all that you've done to be truly amazing. So we appreciate it beyond I can tell you, and very, very, very much looking forward to everything we get to do inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, including this morning. So with that being said, let's bring on the man of the hour, Mr. Murphy. How we doing?
Doing well. How are you doing? I'm hearing a weird echo for some reason.
Yeah, sometimes that happens with Facebook. I'm not hearing an echo, so you should be okay.
It almost sounds like the videos like going from my iPad, and my AirPods are being weird today right now. So,
oh, okay. Yeah, no worries.
I'm not hearing it anymore, so maybe that was, I don't know. Maybe it was something stupid on my end, but we're all good now.
All right. Well, happy to have you here. Happy to be hanging out here where sports meets life. Happy to have Murph on the broadcast with us. So welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
Fantastic, man. It's great to be back on the show. It's been a little bit, and I've kind of adjusted what I've been doing, but I mean, we're here. We're living life. We're playing a lot of golf. Can't ask for much more.
Yeah, let everybody know what you're up to lately, because I think it's pretty cool, the world that you've gotten to live in.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, you all know I graduated at Marywood and graduated with a broadcasting degree, and I graduated right in the middle of the pandemic. So sports were shut down, and I had no way of getting a job. So I worked with my dad for about a year, and he's a facilities manager at a summer camp. I love my dad, but I hated every minute of that. But, I mean, the place is great. I just didn't like the work I was doing. And then I went and taught skiing again. I've been doing that for 9, going on 10 years now. And then I took a job as the assistant golf professional at Panther Valley Country Club in Hackettstown, New Jersey. And I've been there ever since. And it's been an awful lot of fun. I've gotten to play a lot of golf. I've become very acquainted with Shrixon. I am on staff with them. So if you notice my shameless plug of the brand, there you go. Definitely the best irons in the game. I'll give you that right now. I will, whether I'm on staff with them or not, I'll tell you that. So that's one thing they'll always have going for them is they have some of the best irons you could possibly hit. But I love them.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think, we all take a journey to where we want to go and whatnot. Like you said, you've been in a bunch of different places. You've done a bunch of different things, and, you've had the opportunity to experience life in a bunch of different ways. And, that's going to make you who you are. It always makes you who you are. And it's going to give you the opportunity to really be well-rounded. And like you said, know some of the things you like, know some of the things you don't. But, ultimately, you're still doing a lot of things that connect to, obviously the sports world and broadcasting, right? You're working with partnerships. You're working with shameless plugs. You're working with the opportunity to really know what it's like to have that business connection and whatnot. And, you're living in the world of golf, which is a world that you love very much. So, and I think with everything that you're doing there, and you talk about, the broadcasting side of it and whatnot, I had to create my own way. I had to pave my own way. I got no help from, many. So I had to find it on my own. And, those moments where someone did reach out a hand, I took those, but, now I'm the one to reach out the hand back. So I know it's been a minute since you've been on the show, but, you are officially a part of our family. You signed on to our family, and I have every intent of making sure that you and I, with your new schedule and different things going on, I know you've been going through some different stuff in scheduling, and I know that we tried to do some things in the past, but we're going to make you more of a mainstay and give you more of an opportunity to speak your mind here on the Dan Tortora Broadcast Media Network, because you deserve that.
And I appreciate that. And it's been a lot of fun to work with you and over the last couple of years. And I tell you what, you mentioned before I came on, when we were attempting to figure this whole thing out,
Yeah.
that, I mean, I know how much you appreciated coming back to Marywood and working with me on MU Courtside. Obviously, we spoke on the phone last week, and I mean, we talked about how, like, it's your kid, and how when you left, someone took it over. Was it when you first left, it was okay, and then after your successor left, it kind of went
So
down
when
the
I
tubes a little
left,
bit till I got there?
yeah, so I found Joe because I was doing it by myself, and then I had, I don't even know, like 7 different co-hosts, and then I found Joe Forgione, and I said to Joe, like, I want you. And he didn't know if he wanted to do it, and I kind of, had tried to woo him over there, and he agreed to do it for a game, and then he stayed with me for 2 years. And then Joe carried it after me, and I knew it was in good hands. And then I don't know what happened, but then I know Brian Johnson took it over. And I know Brian, I called him, reached out to him, and I didn't think he knew anything about the history, because unfortunately, some powers that be had tried to bury the lead on my connection to it at all. And Brian called me and said, we were talking on the phone, I remember, when I moved back to Dunmore and I was on ESPN in Scranton. And he was like, dude, he's like, I don't care, like, what the narrative is. I know the history. I looked into it. I did my research. I know you built this thing. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, because without you, I wouldn't even be able to have this job. And I remember I took that with me and thought, like, this is one of the best conversations of my life, because I never thought I would get credit for the work that I did, and not in an ego way. It was just like, I built that so that people like you could be a part of it. And so Brian gave me the credit, and I appreciated that, and it helped me put my head on the pillow a little bit easier. And then I don't know what happened from Brian to you. There was a long amount of time. I heard nothing about nothing. And then all of a sudden I was talking to Enrico, and he was like, you should really get in touch with Brendan Murphy. He's doing a heck of a job, and he's kind of like you, he like really cares about everything, and he's working really hard, and, he takes this seriously. And I said to him, I was like, anybody that's working on Courtside, I want to talk to, especially if he cares. And then I met you, and it was just kind of gravy from there. So that's the timeline that I remember.
Yeah. I mean, and that was part of the reason I went there. I mean, when they talked to me about all that and how I'd be able to step in from day one and take it over because no one was doing it, that was one of the driving forces behind me even going to Marywood, to be honest with you. But cool. Combined with that and the fact that I was able to step in and play baseball, because the head coach prior to Coach Phil liked me a lot. And he came to a show, what was it, like a recruiting day or a showcase, something like I went to at the University of Scranton. And he didn't even stay for the hitting part. He watched me play defense, and he watched me run. He flat out told me, I don't need to see anymore. I want you. So I could thank Jerry Davis, or Coach Jerry Davis, for that. He ended up moving on to Lackawanna. I don't know if he's still there or not. But, I mean, he and that whole MU Courtside program and the entire comm arts department as a whole was the main reason I ended up going there. And I was watching your interview with one of my best friends in the world, Jake Schuster, on Friday, and one of the things you asked him was would you change anything in terms of your decision to go to Marywood? And I'm going to quote his answer right here: "I would not change anything. I would 1,000% still go to Marywood."
Yeah, and that's the thing. I would change nothing. It's where my career started, and just because I wasn't paid, to me it was a professional career, and we were on my network, we were on Fox, we were being played downtown at the Scranton bars. Like, to me, that was a professional broadcast. I treated it as such. We were NCAA basketball, and people don't really wrap their head around this. If you go to a school that's D1, you maybe, but maybe not, have the opportunity to broadcast the game because they're going to fly somebody in. If you're D2, D3, you have the opportunity to do an NCAA game and to broadcast and to have the same thing that Mike Tirico would do or Bob Costas would do. You can sit in that seat. And Marywood University, when I walked through the door, the second week that I was on campus, I had a radio show because we had to. And then from there, you could decide, do you want to continue to do it? What do you want to do with it and whatnot? And MU courtside, I filled in during a broadcast 12 minutes before a game. And after that, they're like, hey, we thought it was great. We're getting great feedback. It was funny. It was good. Let's try to do it on video and audio. Within 3 days, we're doing audio, video simultaneously. And then 4 years later, and then here you are. And so, 4 years for me, and then on to you later on in the years. So, it's a place where you can walk through the door, and to be completely honest, all the opportunity is there. And if it's not there, you can create it at Marywood because there's avenues to do it. And really, honestly, the people that got nothing out of their Marywood education are people that didn't take advantage of it and were lazy. Because we had people that needed practicum hours, and they would need 80 hours, whatever. At the end of the semester, they're trying to get 70. People like you and I had 300. So, it's a normal thing.
So the way I did mine was I was done with practicum after my sophomore year. You did 40 hours a semester.
Yeah.
I did double in the second semester of both years. I literally stopped counting after I hit the number. If I had to take a guess at how many practicum hours I did in the time that I was there, it was well over 1,000, I would think.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
It was a lot.
If you wanted it, you could go and get it. And I think that people needed to really understand that. Like, it took a long time for me to put a staff together for MU courtside, but I had a girl that did audio. She loved it. I had, at least 2 camera people that I could rely on of the 3 cameras that we had. I had Joe Forgione sitting next to me for my last couple of years. Like, we had put together a staff, and that staff, it used to be a skeleton crew, and you're like begging people to do it. And I'm thinking, where are they getting the practicum hours? Are they fudging it? Do they have a deal with something? Like, how are they getting these hours? And when you finally started to put the staff together and they're like, hey, this is fun. Hey, you guys make us laugh. Hey, this is fun to watch. This is a good work environment. People realized if you were sitting with Joe and I, you were going to laugh. It wasn't just a game. And so people enjoyed the 2 or 3 hours, and it didn't feel like it was that long.
Yeah.
And so it's weird for me now when you look at it now, and I know that this is where you're getting at, like, you and I, and I've told you this before, and I'm more than happy to do so, and I've talked to Marywood a little bit about this. This is my child. You helped raise my child. I am not going to let my child go down the wrong road. And I think Marywood, it would behoove us in a world where ComArts needs, the enrollment and people coming in and whatnot. It's time to make a positive change. And what you and I cared so much about and what you and I built, people don't understand. We cared about it in the moment, but we care about it after the moment.
Yeah.
So I am all for MU courtside having a reemergence and a resurgence, because if I walk into the building and I get told, well, I was like, what's going on? We're not setting up for the women's game. Oh, no, they come in for the men's game. Why? We don't really do many women's games anymore. My whole point of being at Marywood was if I was going to do one, I was doing both.
Mm-hmm. I
And
mean, I will say this though, like when I first got there, this is not a shot at the men's team at all. The women's team was just better.
yeah,
They were a more fun team to watch my first year, and I'm sure Enrico would attest to that because they had a tough year when I was a freshman,
yeah,
and that was I think that was only his second season that year,
yeah. The
second or
first
third
couple of
year.
years were tough, and then it jumped off from
Yeah,
there.
and yeah, and like I said, I'm sure he could attest to this. It was development. I mean, he
Yeah,
had a lot of young guys at that time. I mean, he had a young Tip Schwartz. He had a young Jeremy Ringland. He had a lot of like a whole like a big mix of guys that he inherited from the previous coach, and um, you know, it was something that I know you saw. It took time.
yeah,
And talking with him both prior to and after my both during and after my time there, you saw what he developed and you saw what he was able to do with that team, and I'm sure he'll agree that obviously our my freshman year the men's team wasn't great. I mean, they played good games, they played competitive games, but
yeah.
the conference was just really good, and it was a development year. You saw a lot of guys get older and more seasoned and more experience, and they got better, and they were better for it. But that the women's team that we saw my freshman year was really good. So
Well,
honestly, the freshman my freshman year, it was more fun to watch the women's games almost.
well, and the thing when I was there, I mean, the women's team was better, and so I think from Tara Machako to Gabby Holko to Jen Carlton, there has been positive moments on the women's side. And, with Eric Grunman, he tried to do some things in Marywood while he was there. And then there was a coach that kind of stepped in for like literally a cup of coffee. And then Enrico took over. And Enrico had a vision and a mission, but he knew it was going to take time. And then
Hmm.
Enrico ended up setting history in like his third season there.
Yeah, I
So,
mean they were great by the end. I mean, I would have loved to see one of them win a conference championship. That would have been awesome, especially to host it. And if they were able to host a conference championship and we were able to cover it, that would have been really cool. I will say that if they did ever get to the conference championship, I would have been there whether it was at Marywood or not. I would
yeah.
have set something up where I would either go with the team or just go down myself and be at the game, get credentials and make sure that I was there to cover it, even if we had to just pull out my phone and just broadcast the game that way. But
Yeah. Well, and that's, and
whatever
that's,
the case may have been.
well, and that's the thing, and that's why I love that you connected with it. I didn't even know that, like you said, when you were thinking about going there, that they're like, hey, you could take this courtside thing. I didn't even know that they would pitch that. So my royalty money is in a treasure chest somewhere.
Yeah.
But but it's to know that they said to you, hey, if you come to Marywood, you could take this courtside thing and do what you want with it.
Yeah.
It's really nice that was a selling point because it was a non-existent thing when I went there. So to know
Yeah.
that something that I built is like a viable, hey, if you come to Marywood, you can have this. Like I think that that's what they should be doing right now. And you know, it's
Yeah.
not easy to find a Brendan Murphy. So
I know. And especially now, I mean, after so I mean, obviously, we did rebrand it to fit the TV Marywood
yeah,
aspect of it in the Atlantic East Network, and it went pretty well. I would hope that in the future, when as they have the sports broadcasting track going, um, that more guys will come in and be excited by it. I mean, I'm not gonna let them put my picture and my name on something that I don't approve of. So when they pitched that they were going to do that program and that track, I was excited. Like I was more than happy to be like the face behind it. And I even told them like I'll be more than happy to come up and talk. I mean, I know obviously I'm not doing that right now, but I mean I've had enough experience with being doing basketball games for 4 years that I could have a lot to say about how how it works, how a real broadcast works. Because I've been in the field.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked with Blue Ridge Cable, and granted, I wasn't on air much as talent, but I would do post-game interviews a lot, and I was on crew all the time, so I was right next to the announcers the entire game. So Bob Capasso and whoever he was with, I was right there the whole time, and I made it a point to have one ear in my my intercom and then the other ear out so that I can listen to them, try to make myself better.
Yeah.
And then last fall, I got the call from Bob Ide at Fox 56 to be sideline reporter for the end of football season because they had an opening and they needed someone to fill in. So I was more than happy to fill in for the 5 or 6 games that I did, and it was a lot of fun. I froze my butt off for a couple of them, but there was one game in particular I vividly remember. It was Scranton Prep in Valley View. It was ridiculously windy. It was brutally cold, raining, and it was raining sideways.
Yeah.
Half my reporting from that second half of that game was about the weather and how the field conditions were changing. But, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I couldn't be more grateful for that opportunity. And, I mean, I would be thrilled if I have that opportunity again. If I don't, it is what it is. But, I mean, I'm grateful for it at the time. And right now, I mean, I'm kind of focused on the golf thing because, I mean, I'm doing a lot of teaching. And Jake actually caddied for me. I took the playing ability test for the PGA, which is essentially like to make sure that you're a good enough player to be a PGA pro.
Mm-hmm.
It's the very beginning of the process of becoming a PGA professional, and
well, they need the help. They've been suspending everybody.
But Jake and we passed. That was my second attempt at it. We took it down at Cherry Valley, and we needed to shoot 158. We shot 155, so we went 76, 79. So we played well. All things considered, but that was fun. I will say that was a lot of fun to have him on the bag. I mean, because we've been talking about that for a long time, and the being able to finally do it was fun.
Yeah, and that's I mean, like you said, talk about the trail and whatnot and things that you do. I mean, you never lose it. I mean, that's just the reality of it all. You don't lose it. If you and I got called right now for an emergency MU courtside show. Like it's
as long as I wasn't working, I'd be there.
If they said, "Hey, listen, there's a game going on right now. We need you guys. We're going to do this." I mean, you could tell me it's a national championship game, and you could tell me it's an exhibition game, and I'm going to treat them the same way. And that's what I love about you is that's what you did. I walked in there. You're like, "Hey, I'm going to get there about 2-3 hours before. I'm going to be wearing a suit. I got to do my stand up. I got to do this, that, whatever." And I'm sitting there saying, here's all the things that I did, and this is what I did to try and make this work, and all these hours I put in, and he's adding more to it. He's doing even more. He's doing a stand-up. He's making sure that he's wearing a suit at all times. He's taking this so seriously, and those things, are the things that you can't teach. I can't teach that. I could tell you, I could suggest, but I can't make you care. So, I think that's such an awesome thing. And I think, the two of us on screen right now, Marywood University, and with the multimedia marketing partnership that I have exclusively with the school, I've said to them, listen, there are other avenues that we can take, and there's other things that we could do. And, even if we did it once a year, to go down and have open auditions or to speak with them when they're going through their orientation, right? Mm-hmm. To just let them know, like, hey, there's a million things to do on campus. This is the one that we really think you should jump into because you could leave here, go to ESPN, go to Fox, go to Yahoo. I worked with all of them in some way, shape, or form. You can go to any one of these places, go to the local station down the road, go to local radio station, TV station, whatever it may be, the newspaper, and you can tell them that you had experience in the field. You didn't grab a cup of – nobody that's ever worked for me has grabbed me a cup of coffee. Like, you walk in, you're working because I want you to get something out of it. And one of the coolest things, and I don't think you know this, but to connect this back to what you're talking about, I had this kid work for me from St. John Fisher, and his name is Zach. And so Zach Bowden, he came and worked for me, and it was when I was running my festival. the CNY Pop Festival, and I bonded sports and entertainment figures, actors and actresses, people that worked with like the Muppets and all this stuff, put them all with sports figures in one room to bring it all together. And it was like 100 moving pieces. I did most of it by myself. And when we did the show, there's a lot of things I learned from it. And I did it in the wrong time of the year. I did it in the summer. I need to do it in the fall. But when we finished up, he had worked on from day one. He was a huge soccer guy. So I said, okay, every Wednesday we're going to do, because it was the FIFA World Cup time. I said, every Wednesday you're going to do a show with me, or during Wake Up Call, you're going to do a broadcast where you break it down. This kid knew something about every country, every team. He knew like background stories. He knew what this guy had for breakfast yesterday. Like he knew all this stuff, and he just brought it, and he's looking at me and he just loved it. And it was like, oh, did I do okay? I'm like, bro, you're an encyclopedia for me. We did that show. I said, you're running the social media and you're going to help me with the CNY Pop Festival. And he literally, of the few people that helped me on that show, he was my right-hand person. And he came to me, and when he started the job, I said, what do you want to do? What's your goal? He said, my goal is to work on the PGA Tour. He said, that's what I'm here for. I said, I have no connections to it. I have no way to get you there. I can only give you the experience, and I can help you forward. And, you know, you do a good job, I'll call anybody. A couple years ago, he came and saw me. It was like when COVID was opening up or whatever. He lives like an hour away. And he said, Mr. Tortora, are you home? I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm in the neighborhood. I want to come say hi. He drove to my house. He came to see me in his travels, knocked on the door, came inside. We started talking. He asked me how I was doing, and really nice kid. He didn't know that I had gotten divorced. He said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I hope you're okay. Just really sweet kid. And I said, what are you doing now? He said, well, I can't want to tell you something. I said, what? He said, I got a new job. I said, where are you working? He said, I'm working on the PGA Tour. And
that's awesome.
Those are the moments that I live for. Those are the moments. Like, you doing courtside your way, but building something that you're hoping to God somebody picks up and goes, hey, this matters. And that when I graduate, it doesn't just die in February of 2007. And then seeing him, and like, he's living his dreams. And after, you know, I mean, this kid's had to work on a farm, like getting the eggs from chickens. Like, this is a kid who had to do jobs that he did not want to do. And we've all been there. So, for you to be doing what you did with the show, for you to be, you know, inviting me back and letting me be a part of it. I mean, you gave me something in my life I never thought I would have again. And when you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy you came back, and Gabby's happy and Enrico's happy, and like, oh, this is a great thing. I'm like, you guys don't understand. I'll come back here every week. I'll drive 2 hours if you need me. So, and
hindsight, I kind of wish I would have done that. But especially my senior year, when I didn't have anybody doing the games with me, when it was just me, that would have made it a lot more fun. But I am actually curious to hear something from you, and
yeah,
I'm curious to know if you saw the broadcast prior to, like, once I got there, prior to Enrico telling you about me, or once he said that, did you watch any of them before you reached out to me, or before he had me reach out to you? I'm curious about this. And what your thoughts were.
So I actually, when it had gone on, I was trusting it and working. And if anybody knows me, when people say, oh, do you go back and listen to your past shows? I'm like, no. And they're like, why? I said, because I'm working on the next one. So I was so ingrained into what I was doing that I was hoping somebody took it up, and I was just kind of like sending a prayer out there. So I didn't see any of your stuff prior to, because when Enrico said somebody wants to talk to you, I was just happy that somebody cared. And I was just happy that somebody, like, I don't know, could open a doorway to something. So I had not seen it, and I didn't know, because it was to my surprise. Like, when I left, we were on Fox. When I left, we were on my network. When I left, we got the HD cameras to make it possible to keep up with actual television at the time, because we were behind the 8 ball. And so I had no idea. So when I went to you and I was like, so what are we on? What are we doing? Like, what's our stream? What's our feed? I had not known about like where things were at until he had called me. And it was then where I was like, okay, let me let Brendan tell me who Brendan is before I make any assumptions. So I kind of just let you be my world into it. And then I was incredibly, I don't want to say surprised because that's not the word. I was happy. I was probably mostly when it came to meeting you, I was relieved. I felt like you did things better than I did in certain places. I thought you took it even more seriously at times. And I just, my first impression of you was, thank God, sigh of relief. And I really honestly felt like, wow, if he was in school and I was in school, he would have challenged me, and I would have really liked that. Like, I think we would have challenged each other.
It would have been fun if
Yeah.
we were in school at the same time.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's like, either we do this thing the right way or Brendan and I are coming back. Hey.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, but you talked about golf, and I want to get into it because the golf world has gotten so adventurous lately, and I have said before, I would rather play it than watch it. I will watch it in certain situations. I won't watch 3 hours of it, but I will watch it like when it's down to the wire and it's the nitty gritty. And I'm going to be honest with you. Who made me watch? Davis Love III. Phil Mickelson, to an extent, I would probably say. Definitely Tiger Woods. Rest in peace,
waiting for
Payne.
you to say Tiger.
Yeah, rest
If
in peace,
Tiger
Payne.
wasn't on that list, I would have probably just left.
but no, Tiger got me to watch the most, and then rest in peace, Payne Stewart will get me to watch. So, like, there were certain people that I would follow, and so now I've grown more of a connection to it because, well, I did the Marywood golf outing, and I will honestly tell you, it's the best game of golf I've ever played in my entire life. I had not picked up a golf club, I'm not kidding, in 15 to 20 years. And I picked it up after like let's say a 20-year hiatus. My first shot was beautiful. I looked at them, I was like, I retire. I helped us. We did captain and crew. I got us a birdie, and I helped us to 3 other pars. Best game of my life. I don't know what got into me. Right before I went up to the
group for that?
Well, it was Enrico. It was so I had Enrico Mastriani. I had Mike Latrella, who's the assistant coach, who just came on and has first season this season, and then I had one of the former players, Sherv. So that was our group of 4, and I give them credit. Those guys played awesome. I feel like we all at some point helped each other out. I don't know how I did anything, but I did something. My prayer before the first tee, I looked up, they were all talking, and I said,
Don't shake
Lord, I said, Lord, I know you're busy. I'm not saying that you need to make me look like a phenomenal golfer, but please just don't let me embarrass myself or hurt this team today. And I didn't. I played the best game of my life. And so, like, I have more of an appreciation for it because, like, and we had fun. I mean, we were just like a good group, a ragtag crew of people.
That's the big thing for outings and stuff. I mean, having played in them and worked outings, the working side is not quite as much fun as playing in them. But, that's neither here nor there. But having been on both sides of it, it's supposed to be a lot of fun. I mean,
and it is.
You want to go and win and stuff, but I mean, I played in one earlier this year with a couple of people I work with at Camelback, and I mean, well, I kind of had to carry the team a little bit, not gonna lie, and I'm sure they'll attest to that. But we had a great time. That was the important thing. I was just trying to go out there. I let everybody else tee off first. I'm like, just get a ball in the fairway, and then I'm just gonna try to step up and hit a bomb, which is essentially what I was doing all day. But it was a great time. So that's all it is.
It is.
Just having a good time there.
It's fun, and if we were living in the world of the PGA/LIV Golf right now, you and I might be suspended, and Enrico might still be playing there, and maybe Lachella and Shervar. I don't know. Maybe you renounced your membership. Maybe I tried to keep mine. But the world of golf, to some people, gets really boring. But right now, if you don't watch golf and you don't like the sport and you feel like it's too slow, now it has a Kardashian element to it because the PGA Tour was like, hey, you work for us. And they're like, no, we're independent contractors. Like, we got a membership from you, and we worked our behind off to get that membership and to meet those qualifications. But now we should have every right to go and try something new and do this and do that and the other thing. And there's so many things going on in the background, right? You have Jay Monahan, who's back here talking about how the LIV thing is backed by Saudi Arabia, and you don't have to worry about that with us, and maybe some 9/11 families have a problem with it. So it's like it's almost like saying, hey, if you left the PGA Tour, you're now simplifying with terrorists. Like there's all of these conversations that have gotten insane, all because a bunch of golfers, 17 golfers, said, hey, you know what? There's an opportunity here for exposure and money, and we're going to try it out. And I would love to get your thoughts on it, because I, as the person who is growing more appreciation for golf, have not had the world that you've had, and you have watched these things very, very closely. So if I want to go to an expert, I'm going to you. What is your thought as I open up the barn door on the PGA Tour and LIV Golf situation?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I wasn't really sure what to think at first. The way I kind of think of it, to be honest, is like when the USFL originally became a thing in the 80s.
Yeah.
Where it was going to be like a rival league to the NFL, and you got a lot of guys going over and playing there. Only difference is it didn't seem like the NFL had as big of a hatred for the USFL as the PGA Tour does for the LIV Golf. But that being said, based on where all that money's coming from is probably why guys are getting scoffed at. It's why we saw Phil Mickelson have a big absence from. He didn't play in the Masters. He didn't play in the PGA Championship. I mean, he didn't play to defend his title in the PGA Championship. That was pretty remarkable. That was pretty sad to see that. But
yeah,
I mean, I mean, he's taken kind of a fall from grace, and it's. I can't really blame him for how what he was saying, and it didn't seem at first like he was necessarily backing the league, but he kind of was saying like, oh, I understand if people are going to go over there, but I mean then he kind of look and see what was going on as it's happening in the tournament in London a couple of weeks ago, and it was a whole new format. I mean, you basically had 12 teams with 4 guys on each team, and you had a team champion and an individual champion.
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch it because it was streamed, and I didn't really. I was watching more of baseball that week, to be honest with you. But I mean, I was paying attention to it. I mean, I knew that Charles Schwartzel won, and what's funny is it was $4 million that he won for winning that tournament, and it would have put him, I believe, in the top 10 for money winners for this year on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at some of these guys, and I look at guys like him, like guys like Lee Westwood, guys like Louis Oosthuizen. Maybe Louis being the one exception because he seems like he's always in there at the majors. But most of these guys are past their prime.
Yeah.
They're not going to win that kind of money on the PGA Tour anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily blame him for taking that kind of a bag. But then I look at guys like Dustin Johnson, like Phil Mickelson, like Bryson DeChambeau. Those are ones that kind of surprised me that went over there. I mean, yes, $125 million or $150 million for DJ is an awful lot of money. But one I didn't get because he's still top 5. He was still top 5 in the world. He just won the Masters in 2020. He's been in contention at just about every major in the last 2 or 3 years because he's at the top of his game right now. He's in the middle of his prime. Phil obviously got the most money from them.
Yeah.
About $200 million. When we saw some of the gambling stuff come out, started to put two and two together. That, all right, maybe he needed the money a little bit, but at the same time, I don't know. I can't, like, I see plenty of people. I mean, there's people around our club that kind of have it out for these guys, and like I said,
Yeah.
I'm still trying to put it together. You know, like, I haven't really come up with a set. Do I like it? Do I don't? Do I not like it? Do I hate these guys for going over there? I don't really have a firm answer yet, and it's going to take more, like, watching it and looking a little more closely at it to really have that kind of make that kind of a definitive answer for myself. But, you know, I mean, I look at the guys that went over there, and the play was good. I mean, guys played really well. It looked like a fun atmosphere. It looked like we're going to see a lot more fans from around the world that are going to be there. I mean, they're going to have an event at Trump National in Bedminster at the I think middle to late July, and I got a buddy that works over there, so I'm going to have to probably reach out to him, and I'd like to go, honestly, just to see what it'll be like.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had nothing to compare it to because I've never been to a PGA Tour event, so, which is surprising for someone like me. But, you know, I mean, I'm still trying to collecting my thoughts here, but yeah, I mean, I was genuinely surprised at some of the younger guys that went over there. But then you got a guy like James Piot, who just won the U.S. Amateur last year and played in the Masters. He's a guy I can kind of understand, because someone's throwing $50 million at you. Freaking money at that age, at 19, 20, 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you at that age, but I would have taken that money. Like, someone's going to pay me $50 million to go over and play golf, even though I may not be able to play on the PGA Tour. Sure, I'll take it.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, listen, you know, I think the PGA, and I mean, there's an air of, you know, the country club, you know, you stick up your nose and you have to rise to our level, you know, and then if you get there, it's great, you know, and it's wonderful. And and they're reputable, and I respect them. But you can't tell somebody how to live their life, you know what I mean? It's like, this is a little bit of a
100%.
different world where you're not on a team. It's not like you're on the Dallas Cowboys and you told the Cowboys, like, yo, I'm going to go play for, like, the Eagles for, like, 2 games and I'm going to come back. Like, that's not this isn't that world. And so I think with the PGA, and this is where, you know, these blurred lines that maybe the PGA, you know, guys on the tour have been dealing with for a long time that we don't know about, is that, you know, we as fans, you know, what is this conversation? You know, do they feel like, okay, it's, you want your whole life to get in, and then once you get in, you realize, okay, well, this is kind of, in a way, like being shackled to the ground. Like, I'm here, but I can't go anywhere else. I mean, or I'm here until I'm like 40 or 50 years old, and then I could go play wherever I want to play, but I don't want to play then. So, you know, it's a weird situation, because the PGA and Jay Monahan have he's taken such a public, like, they need us more than we need them, and we're going to show you how we can live without them and they can't live without us.
My exact example is, I mean, we all saw that Tiger Woods got offered almost $1 billion to go over there. Billion with a B. So let's just say, for instance, Tiger would have taken it and gone over there.
Yeah.
PGA Tour wouldn't be the same. We all know that when Tiger is in a tournament or in a major, viewership skyrockets, attendance skyrockets, people pay attention.
Yeah. He's the Michael
Every
Jordan
time.
effect. People watch golf even if they don't like golf.
You said it yourself. He's one of the guys that made you watch golf.
Yeah, every time.
I remember back in 2019 when he was in contention at the Masters. Granted, I would have been watching it anyway, but he had the effect when he was in contention on Sunday. Now, I had a tournament that day, so I wasn't able to, like, watch it from start to finish. But the last 4 holes, I don't know who we were playing, but we had a tournament at Glenmara, and one of the kids had Unlimited data. I didn't have unlimited data. My mom would have killed me if I was streaming the Masters for an hour. But I swear, we were literally watching the Masters walking up the course. We would hit our shots and go back to the kid and like, all right, what Tiger do? What Tiger do? That's the effect that Tiger Woods had on the sport and has had on the sport. It's the same thing when Mike Trout's playing somewhere for baseball. And what's sad is he's not getting the kind of GOAT recognition that he deserves, but he's quietly becoming one of the best athletes to ever play sports. It's like, as much as it kills me to say it because I hate him, LeBron James in basketball. People always watch when he's around. Maybe not so much anymore, but that's a conversation for another day.
Steph Curry, girl.
Steph Curry.
Yeah. Kevin Durant, still.
Yeah. It's
Aaron Rodgers.
Even when Phil Mickelson won the PGA last year, there were more people watching.
Yeah.
Because Phil Mickelson, while not quite the same as Tiger Woods, had that kind of effect on the game.
Well, and the thing is like people were saying he was washed up. So like there were so many people that were like, you know, it made them feel like, well, I can go out and play because he was like the people's champion. He was like that Doug Flutie effect of, you know, everybody going, isn't it cute that Phil's playing? We don't even expect him to finish in the top 5. And then here he is, he wins the thing. And then everybody's like, oh, I guess he could still play golf.
I mean, the thing with him is last year at Kiowa, he played unbelievable golf. I mean, Kiowa, the ocean course at Kiowa Island is one of the hardest golf courses in the world.
Yeah.
And I've never gotten to play it. I know some of our members have, and maybe one of these years I'll go down and play it. But it was really kind of crazy to see him at his age still be able to hit the ball as far as some of the younger guys, still being able to get up and down. I mean, he's one of the best short game players in the world, and always has been. I mean, he's got a video out that came out probably almost 10, 15 years ago at this point. It's called Secrets of the Short Game. If you're a golfer and you need work on your short game, it is on YouTube. It is in 2 parts. Go and watch it. It is unbelievably informative. Some of the drills that he gives you in that thing are really good stuff that I use even now. One of them in particular is a 3-foot drill where he puts 10 tees around in a circle and 10 golf balls, and you got to make 10 in a row. And you just move to the next, you can go all the way around the circle. I try to make 20 in a row.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable number for me. Phil makes 100. So, and to make 100 of those putts in a row, it's hard. I mean, I struggle just to make 20. It takes me sometimes 15, like half an hour, 45 minutes just to make 20 in a row. So, I mean, that's a really good drill. He has a method for chipping called the hinge and hold, which is really good. Something that helps you get some spin on the ball and have a little bit more control.
Yeah.
But that is a really, really good training video to watch if you're like really into getting better at golf. That's one I would highly recommend. But he's still applying those things even today, you know, and one of the things that he stressed was chipping it inside of 3 feet, you know, and when he won the PGA at Baltusrol back in 2005, he basically hit a chip on the 18th hole to 2 feet, and he got excited and everything. And he even said it in the video. He knew he was going to make the putt.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. And again, you know, going back to it and these people that have, you know, made us pay attention to the game, you know, I mean, for goodness sakes, people order Arnold Palmer's all the time, you know, the half lemonade, half iced tea, which is made. And I'm going to stick by this. The week that I was down at Hooters, that I did my live broadcast to usher in last season's college football and NFL, we were tasked with the opportunity worldwide on video and on-site on location at iDrive right by Disney, Universal, and SeaWorld to bring you the ushering in of the 2021-22 college football season and NFL season. There is no better place to get an Arnold Palmer than Hooters on iDrive in Orlando, Florida. And I will say that because the girls made it for me every single morning. And when I came down just to visit, I came down a little bit after to visit, I drove over on my way to Disney and I was like, can you guys make me another one? So like, it was like $2, you know, it's like, And so I mean I feel like if I and that's the second home of my show is the state of Florida, as people know. But I mean I see myself if I was working down in Florida like daily, I feel like I would just make my morning drive and I would pick up my Arnold Palmer, put it in the console, and be about my life. So but I mean it's from that to Jack Nicklaus, and from there to Phil Mickelson and the Tiger Woods and the Sergio Garcias, and there's so many, and Dustin Johnson. But when I talk about Sergio and I talk about Phil and I talk about Dustin, they're all out of the PGA, and people are saying, well, they're out of right now. Well, are they suspended forever? And Jay Monahan's like, well, I don't know right now. You don't know right now because you don't know how much money you're going to lose. You're going to change your tune really quick when you start, because the thing is, if this starts working, and like you said, there's teams, right? So it was in London this past June 9th to the 11th. We had 4 Aces GC, High Flyers GC, Punch. We had Cleeks, Ironheads, Smash. These are the names of the teams. Crushers, Majestics, Stinger. We had Niblix, Fireballs, Torque. The names are really cool. The logos are really cool. And the cool thing about this is that all the upcoming events, like in Portland and Bedminster and Chicago and so on and so forth, is that there's a draft. And so you actually get to draft your team. So the great thing about this, and so this is what it says here. It says, will be decided by a draft, and the draft happens a little bit before. Each team will have an LIV appointed team captain who will select their 3 open team positions via a snake draft format. The captain will also be one of the 4 starting players. And there's events coming up in Portland, June 30th to July 2nd, Bedminster, July 29th to the 31st, Boston, September 2nd to the 4th, and Chicago, September 16th to the 18th. I love the opening page of this website, LIV Golf. You can go to livgolf.com, and this is what it simply says: golf, but louder. Welcome to LIV Golf, where we supercharge the game of golf and help transform it into the sport it's destined to become. So you have a draft approach, this golf but louder thing. You have teams, you have logos. This is a totally different world of golf. And the way that they put it together, where you have Torque GC and whatever, it has that soccer feel to it, which is a worldwide recognizable thing. The draft and the snake side of it, that's, it's like a fantasy football draft. And seeing the draft, we like the draft. We like the NBA draft, the NFL draft, the MLB draft, the NHL draft, MLS draft. And so this whole notion of golf but louder is attractive. It's exciting. And, you're going to be in Portland, Bedminster, Boston, and Chicago coming up. I mean, there's a lot of good things to be had here with LIV Golf. So, I will say that from the outside looking in, it looks like an exciting brand that if they can get the right TV partners, the right exposure, and they can get to you right to your phone like we are right now on Facebook Live for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cubal Studios, this thing could jump off. And I'm telling you right now, the PGA could be looked at as the old man's game, and all of a sudden they might be begging. This might be the turning point of golf, that the PGA Tour decided to stick their feet in quicksand and they end up suffocating themselves instead of just simply putting it in sand and pulling it out after a couple days.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I don't get is people are trying to think that they can keep these guys out of majors. There's only one major that the PGA Tour can keep them out of, and I don't even know if the PGA Tour can keep them out of because it's the PGA of America that hosts it. Is the PGA Championship. They can't hold them out of the Masters. They can't hold them out of the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
And they can't hold them out of the British Open.
Right.
That is up to the committees that run those tournaments. Clearly, the USGA was all for them playing. You saw Phil play. You saw Bryson playing. You saw Dustin Johnson playing. You saw Sergio playing. No, I don't think any of them played well. But, I mean, the U.S. Open is supposed to be the toughest test of golf. And when Matt Fitzpatrick won yesterday, he conquered that elite field and won. But, I mean, you saw, though, I mean, let's just moving on to the U.S. Open for a second, but you saw how difficult that course was set up. I mean, any average golfer could look at that course and see the lies that these guys had and be like, wow, what the heck am I supposed to do from there? I mean, Matt Fitzpatrick had a shot that he hit, I believe it was on 15 yesterday, and it was, granted, the rough was sat down because there was people walking on it, so he had a decent lie. Had to cut it to get it around a couple of trees to hit it to the green. He was 225 out or something like that, and he hit it to 25 feet. And realistically, that was huge because he ended up making the clutch putt on 15 to take the lead and eventually take the lead for good. But
and won the U.S. Open and U.S. Amateur at the same venue. Matt Fitzpatrick
person to do
did
that other than Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah, and that's popping up here in the studio this morning. I mean, it's incredible to see this, but again, like you said, the PGA can't keep you out of a lot of these, major. I mean, the majors. If you want to be crowned the champion of all, what can the PGA really do? I mean, are they essentially painting themselves into a corner, I guess, is where we're looking.
The only thing they could really keep them out of is the FedEx Cup playoffs. And to be honest with that, I mean, yeah, it's a $15 million prize if you end up winning the FedEx Cup.
Yeah.
But, I mean, these guys go over there, they can win that in 2 or 3 tournaments.
Right.
And, I don't think they necessarily care as much about the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially you got the 4 majors, the Masters, the U.S. Open, the PGA, and the Open Championship. You get the 4 majors. You get the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass. By the way, I played that course in March. It was immaculate. I can talk about that another day. But those are the 5 tournaments that them always want to play. Everybody wants to play the Players because obviously it's like they run it. It's at one of the most famous golf courses in the world. The Masters, it's the Masters. It's played at the most iconic golf course in the world, maybe other than St. Andrews. The U.S. Open, obviously, a lot of these guys are from America. It's our national championship. Anybody could qualify for it. You or I could go and try and qualify for it if we wanted to.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 majors, the PGA Championship and the Open Championship, they're just played at great golf courses, and it's the big tournaments that everybody watches and everybody wants to see. I mean, next month we get the 150th Open Championship at St. Andrews. Probably, like I said, I mean, that and Augusta are probably the 2 most iconic golf courses in the world, the old course at St. Andrews and Augusta. And Tiger's going to be there. Phil's probably going to be there. These LIV players are probably going to be there so long as they're eligible to play or exempt into the field.
Yeah.
Those are the tournaments everyone wants to play. You've seen Tiger play 2 tournaments this year. Well, technically 3 if you count the PNC Championship.
Yeah.
The Masters and the PGA. He's at the point, he already said that he's not going to play a full schedule anymore. He's pretty much going to play the majors.
Yeah.
Imagine that once next year rolls around, I'm thinking he's going to play no more than 7 or 8 tournaments. The 4 majors. Maybe he'll play the Players at TPC Sawgrass because it's not a hard course to walk. I would think he'll play the Memorial. I would think he'll play the Arnold Palmer. And I would think he'll play his tournament, I believe the Genesis Invitational. I believe those are probably all the tournaments that he'll play. And I can't blame him for it, but
no. And he's kind of earned that right at this point.
Yeah.
He's earned the right to say when he wants to play.
And between the accident and the point that he's at in his career, he has no need to play anymore. He's got nothing more to prove.
Right.
The only thing he has to prove is trying to win one more tournament to pass Sam Snead for the all-time wins record, but I don't think he's going to do that. I mean, the point he's at right now, I mean, if you saw him at the PGA, I mean, he's hobbling. He was really struggling to move around, which is sad because, I mean, this is Tiger Woods we're talking about, one of the greatest athletes and golfers in the world, and he's literally struggling to walk around a golf course, something that he did routinely for 25 years.
Yeah.
When he was in his prime.
Yeah.
But, I mean, realistically, I've seen him talk about it. He looks at it as he's just grateful to even be alive and have a leg to begin with. Because A, that crash could have killed him. B, he could have lost his leg.
Yeah.
Amputation was on the table. I know we're just thankful that he's A, still around, and B, still able to play. I mean, I would compare his car accident to when Kobe was in that plane crash that killed him. you think the same thing, like, Jesus Christ, is he still alive? Is he okay?
Yeah.
Obviously, Kobe wasn't, and that was, you saw how hard that was on a lot of the players because they grew up with this guy. God forbid if Tiger would have gotten killed in that car accident, I would think it would have been the same thing. The outpouring of support for him and prayers to hope that he was okay, you could tell how much he meant to people. You really could, and that's important with it.
And I think what it would have done is I think it would have really, I mean, it would have affected so many people, and I think it would have affected golf, and
Oh yeah,
I think, I mean, Tiger changed a lot of things about golf, and a lot of things that are wrong about.
Played.
What'd you say?
He changed the way it was played.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he changed what color you had to be on the golf course. You know what I mean?
Sunday red.
And so I mean, there's that, and the fact that, I mean, he really showcased himself, and we talk about the world where not everybody feels equal and feels treated the same. Tiger brought a totally different look to golf, where we're seeing somebody who's African American, who is changing the game, and not only good at the game and not only there in discussion, but winning and beating everybody. And so
winning as well as much as he did. From 1999 until about 2005, he utterly dominated the sport of golf.
Yeah.
Like, there was no athlete in the world that can match how dominant he was in his sport. He won during that stretch. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I would think he probably won 40 to 50 of his tournaments during that period. He won the Tiger Slam in there, which, if any of you don't know what that means, it means that he won all four. He held a championship of all four majors at the same time. He won the U.S. Open, then the British, then the PGA, then in 2001 he won the Masters. So he held all four major championships at once. That's never been done before, and I don't think it'll ever be done again. That is just how good and how dominant Tiger Woods was in his prime. Sometimes people forget that. I mean, I do sometimes. I mean, I'm only 24 years old. The man started his career before I was born. So, I mean, just getting to see him even post-prime. I remember watching the 2008 U.S. Open and just in awe of him. And I didn't even play golf yet at the time. So getting to see Tiger win another one in 2019 when he won the Masters was remarkable. And then seeing him in contention at the PGA Championship the year before when Koepka won. I mean, he shot 64 in the final round. The only problem was Brooks Koepka wasn't getting beat that day. No one was beating him. Not even prime Tiger, I don't think, would have beat him. And Tiger shot 64. He played out of his mind. And even he said afterwards, no one was beating Koepka that day. So that's what he's done for the sport. And I'm sure a lot of these guys that played in the U.S. Open watched him as a kid. I mean, I don't know how much you want to get into the U.S. Open, but there wasn't much talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell that it wasn't as. I mean, they were sad that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have loved to see him there. But I mean, you look at that golf course. There's no way in hell he would have made it around there. Not after seeing what happened at the PGA.
And that's the thing. I mean, is they talk about, again, going back to Jay Monahan and the PGA saying, well, they need us more than we need them, and it's like, you lose one guy like Tiger, you don't have him walking around a golf course, and you lose a lot. You lose a lot of viewers. You lose a lot of people. You lose a lot of that superstar spotlight that can only be carried by people like Tiger. And it's amazing what he's done for the sport itself. I mean, my dad was watching golf, and I'm like, whatever. I'm walking out of the room, and I'm like, wait, is Tiger playing? He's like, yeah. And then I would stop. And I still remember to this day, there was like a playoff at the end, and they were putting, and I just stood there right in front of the television, like an inch away from the TV, just looking at it, waiting to watch him, waiting to see him, waiting to know if he's going to win. So last note here is Noreen Morris is going to be joining us in our Commissioner Central series. So for those of you waiting for that, she will be coming up momentarily for the Northeast Conference as we continue our conversation with leaders around the country on their conferences, as well as the future of collegiate athletics as we know it. Quick note on the Yankees and the Mets. We'll get into more stuff in the not too distant future here, Brendan. But to shift to baseball just for a second here, because we promised we would do that, and I keep my promises. Your thoughts on the Mets and the Yankees right now, and what it's like to see two New York teams that are holding their weight, I will say. I know you're a Mets fan, and the Yankees are obviously sparking this season. So what's your take?
Well, I mean, that's a bit of an understatement with the Yankees. I mean, they got a 742 winning percentage. They got one of the best records to start a season in baseball history.
Yeah.
That's just how good they've been. You know, and to be perfectly honest with you, it would not shock me at all another Subway Series this year. That's how good both of these teams are.
I would love to see
What
that. I've been wanting that for a long time.
What I will say, though, about the Yankees is their bats have been unbelievable this year. The problem is that doesn't always hold up.
Yeah.
However, it's been very good. That was something that I thought was going to be a big question mark for them coming into the season. Garrett Cole hasn't been superstar Cy Young Award winner Garrett Cole, but he's been very good. He's been one of the best pitchers in the league, just not at the same level he's always been. Getting Jordan Montgomery back for them was good. He's been solid for them all year. The big one was Luis Severino. I mean, they sorely missed Luis Severino for sure. And he came back at the tail end of last year, coming out of the bullpen. And, I mean, he was okay. He showed the flashes. But, I mean, just looking at the numbers here, you can see how much better they've been with him back. You know, and he's been just as dominant as he's been in years past. I mean, the ERA man, I'd say he's only 3.27, but 80 strikeouts in 66 innings with a 1.06 whip. That's really good. That means that he's missing bats and he's not letting guys on base. So it's been more of an unlucky thing, if anything. Jamison Tyone's been really good as well. He's got a sub-3 ERA. He's kind of rekindling what he was doing in his Pirates days, being really, really good. But the one I will say that has been a revelation, was really good at the tail end of last year, but we weren't sure what to think of him this year, is Nasty Nestor Cortez. Nestor Cortez was a guy that I had never heard of going into last year. And in the playoffs, I mean, in the late in the year, he was doing pretty well. You know, I mean, I picked him up in one of my dynasty baseball leagues, and he was really good for me, and I didn't know what to think going into this year. Turns out he's been one of my best pitchers in that league. He's got a sub-2 ERA. I would argue that he's up there in the conversation for the Cy Young Award at the moment. He's been unbelievable. He's been dominant. He's striking guys out, which is something I wasn't expecting from a guy who throws 90-something. But the thing with him is he reminds me a lot of Johnny Cueto back in the day. Johnny Cueto would throw guys' timing off. That's what he does.
Yeah.
He messes with his windup and throws guys' timing off, and that's why he is so successful. And it's something I'm really impressed with him. And I have been over the years. But Aaron Judge is hitting like a freak. He's probably going to run away with the MVP award, I would think. You know, he's got 25 home runs already. Let's see exactly how many he has. Yeah, he's already got 25 home runs. Only 50 RBI, so the guys aren't as much on base when he's hitting his home runs, but he's hitting 305. When Aaron Judge is hitting over 300, you know it's going to be a good year for the Yankees. So they've been really good. Clay Holmes in the bullpen is dominant for them. Another guy that kind of came out of nowhere and has been really, really good for them. Then you look at the Mets, and this is the one where I can speak more freely about because I know I watch their games every day. I know just about everything. The fact that they are as good as they are right now, DeGrom and Scherzer on the shelf right now, leads me to believe that this team can dominate down the stretch. The guys in their lineup is hitting really well.
Yeah.
Alonso's hitting well. Lindor, even though the average isn't there, he's hitting with runners in scoring position. McNeil's having another great year. Luis Guillorme, of all people, has been really good for them. He's kind of come out of nowhere and just getting hits on hits on hits, playing unbelievable defense. Eduardo Escobar started to pick it up. They finally got rid of Robinson Cano at the end of April, which was huge because he was just useless.
Yeah.
He was just like he did nothing. Brandon Nimmo's having another really good year, getting on base at almost a 400 clip. Starling Marte's been really good, and the rotation's been solid. I mean, Bassett, while he hasn't been the really good self that he was been in Oakland, he's been a very good pitcher. I mean, he's a guy that they're relying on right now to be their number one starter for the moment, and he's been really good. Carlos Carrasco, another guy who's kind of rekindling some of the success he had with the Guardians back in the day. That's one I'll probably never be able to get used to. Commander's okay, but that's one I probably won't be able to get used to.
Well, it's funny because I have a Pluto hat for Disney that has Pluto as a football player, and it says K9, and the name of the team is the Guardians, and I wore that on Saturday, and I was like, ironically, there's actually a team named that right now that I have to remember that they're named the Guardians. So it was Pluto's first.
They had such a good opportunity to come up with a good name for that team. They really failed with that one. But I mean, I look at the rest of this team and I'm like, this team's going to make a deep run without a doubt. And I mean, Edwin Diaz as the closer has been absolutely filthy this year. He's gotten back into the mode that he was when he was with the Mariners before the Mets acquired him. This is the guy that they acquired, the guy with the disgusting slider with the 18+ K per 9. I mean, he's pitched 27 innings. He's struck out 53 guys. That's absurd. I mean, he's got 14 saves. When he finished off the combined no-hitter at the end of April, I have never seen a slider as good as it was that night. It was filthy. Like, if I'm in the box standing like against that slider and he throws it at my hip and it comes over the plate, I'm getting the heck out of there. I will take my strikeout and be like, but I'm excited to see what happens when DeGrom and Scherzer come back. This team's going to be really, really good. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you got the two top teams when it comes to wins in baseball right now, with the Yankees leading all with 49 victories at the time of this conversation, and the National League being led by the Mets, 44 victories. Mr. Murphy, as always, I appreciate you. The Marywood duo is back, and we are just getting started. Murph and I got some things to talk about off the air that could affect your life on the air. We'll talk with you soon, and as always, Brendan, thank you so much for being a part of the show. U.S. Open, LIV Golf, PGA Tour, Marywood history, and, of course, Major League Baseball. I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Absolutely, Daniel. Appreciate you having me on again.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.